Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lesson 6. We're doing our second part of our aromatherapy class, Aromatherapy for 12 Energy Centers. And I've also added another aspect to this class. Earlier in this third module, I talked about the technique of question affirmations. And so in addition to aromatherapy suggestions for the 12 Energy Centers, I have put in the question affirmations for the 12 energy centers, and you need to refer back to the previous lesson on how that works. So let's get started, and we're going to just go ahead and start with the root energy, which is over the pubic area. Whoops, there's missing an I. When the root energy test's week, we have people read these affirmations. I fully experience and enjoy my sexuality. I am happy that I am a man, or happy I'm a woman. I am safe and protected, so forth. And we muscle test the person after each statement that they make. And if they test weak on it, then we know that that is a dragon, a place where they have a possible negative belief system. It's particularly apparent when it's a strong negative belief system, when they stumble over the words, when they stutter, when they have a hard time saying it, when they twist words around reading it. These are all indications that they have some kind of a block with that. Well, some of the essential oils that work on the root energy tend to be the more kind of woody, resinous, musky, earthy kinds of fragrances, have some kind of undertone. Particularly the ones that I have found very, very helpful are myrrh. That's very grounding and helps a person, get in touch with that root grounded energy. Patchouli, which is sort of the hippie fragrance, I think of it. It's a very heavy fragrance, a very sultry fragrance. And vetiver, which is another one. Some other ones that I think are really useful here include frankincense, sandalwood. Those are also very good ones for helping with the root energy. The ones that I think are the best are the ones that are listed there. Now, so vetiver, which is a very interesting fragrance. And what I've done here is I've listed kind of the energetics of some of these fragrances as examples. It has a musky, woody, earthy odor with a little bit of sweetness to it. And the energetic of it is kind of sultry to narcotic, except on the chart, we just changed that to soothing. So sultry to soothing. So I didn't get that changed on the slide. And it's also very interesting. We've been testing some of these on emotional energy centers. Some fragrances I've used for quite a number of years. Other ones I haven't had as much practical experience with. So we were fooling around with testing them on me and some other people. There's a little variation in how they test as to what energy centers they strengthen, but there are some sort of consistent patterns. And a lot of the fragrances that are grounding also work on the top center. In other words, they help balance a person within their body and with the earth. And this one, interestingly enough, actually has an affinity also for the heart energy center. So it promotes tranquility and eases stress, and it helps people who are out of touch with their body, out of touch with the earth, to get down to earth and centered in their body. And it also helps someone be peaceful when they're tired or exhausted, so they can calm down. And then a lot of these grounding fragrances also help sexual energy. Not that they're like sexual stimulants so much as they promote kind of sensual feelings of being open to touch, being open to sharing sensual experiences. The next energy center up is the Naval Energy Center. And this one deals with mothering. The root energy deals with father and other male authority figures, deals with security and feeling safe and at home at the earth. The Naval Energy Center is about being nurtured, and it's over the navel, which is the connection of where your belly button is, where you were connected to your mom in your womb. And it has a lot to do with feminine nurturing energy. And by the way, all of these affirmations were stuff that I came up with because initially, when I got the emotional healing map, I had a kind of a vague idea of what these energy centers were, but nothing specific. So as I worked with people who had weaknesses in these different energy centers, these are the issues that consistently came up. In other words, these are the things that they would report to me that would come up as we were doing healing work. And so basically, that's how I created these statements, is based on that, like 90% of the people who are weak at the Naval Energy Center had issues like this, okay? Which is having what you need to sustain yourself, being able to get the food and the love and the financial support and everything you need, feeling worthy of all that, feeling like that you're mothered or nurtured. And so there's a sexual component to this too, but it's a sexual component that's more of a feminine energy sexuality than a masculine energy sexuality. Some of the ones that actually came up really strong: anise, which is kind of a sweet woody fragrance; jasmine, and rose, interestingly enough, all of which are, a couple of those are kind of heart-opening remedies too, were very strong on the navel energy. Some of the ones that have been traditionally used to aid like bloating and gas and indigestion, like clove and fennel, anise, orange, that sort of thing, all seem to go to work here. This is a picture of fennel from my backyard. After it had died down in the winter and the new growth is coming up in the spring. One of the oils here that's anise it's a sweet licorice-like fragrance, and it's also very earthy, and it's in the kind of soothing, calming area of the energy. It works on both the pancreatic energy, which is the ability to find sweetness in life, and 10, which is the navel energy. Now, those two energy centers together would suggest that it, would go along with the idea of being able to receive pleasure and nurturing and be open to having love and the experience of pleasure. So this is helpful for people who tend to be introverted, withdrawn, melancholic, not being open to other people, and it helps open them to experience sweetness and pleasure, and it helps overcome bitterness because it's a sweet fragrance. Jasmine is an interesting one. It opens the right brain, the heart, which are on the left side of the body, and deal with the open energy. And then it also opens number 10, which is the navel energy, which is out receiving what you need. So basically, this is a very, very opening fragrance. And so it is calming in that it's kind of floral and fresh, but it moves into being more ethereal or heady, pulling you kind of up into that kind of very open, kind of spacey thing. It's very exotic. I love jasmine. It's very, I don't know, the words I use to describe things that are ethereal is fluid, expansive, creative, imaginative, light, uplifted, open, kind of thing. It's an aphrodisiac in the sense that it promotes sexual attractiveness and promotes openness, kind of love and openness. So it also helps your confidence. And interestingly enough, it's a fragrance for grief. It helps the sadness in the heart energy center, which one of the things that can happen there is you can get, from repressed grief, you can get postnasal drip. I call it crying inside. And as you relieve the internal sadness, the postnasal drip tends to clear up. The liver energy center, it has to do with the ability to stand up for oneself. It's the physical side of the more masculine, defensive, aggressive energy. And weakness here has to do with the difficulty in asserting oneself, in also in holding on to grudges and bitterness, being able to defend myself and so forth. And so you can see the kinds of things we test people on. I am able to recognize and accept my anger. I've forgiven everyone who's wronged me. I'm free of grudges, hatred, and bitterness. By the way, lack of forgiveness typically closes down the liver center and the heart center, both of which are kind of interesting. They're on opposite sides of the body in different worlds, but the heart helps you open up to people, but the bitterness kind of closes you down and makes you, withdrawn and defensive and so forth. Some oils that are helpful here. Well, it's interesting. There weren't a lot of oils that tested really strong over the liver center. One of them, though, that seems to be really strong is tea tree, which is a very strong immune herb. In fact, a number of these are immune herbs. And of course, immunity is linked to that right side energy, the energy centers 3, 6, and 9. Actually 2, 6, and 9, which are all related to being able to protect oneself. So some of these fragrances have a grounding quality as well. And so one thing that often happens with people who have been abused is they'll test weak on the root energy and the liver energy. They are not grounded and they have a hard time standing up for themselves. And so some of these trees are very, strong rooted, like pine, tea tree. I mean, you've got all these nice roots, Atlas cedarwood. And then they also have that very strong infection fighting disinfectant quality. So the Pancreatic Energy Center, which is on the opposite side of the Naval world, has to do with being open to pleasure, open to beauty, open to color, being playful. I call it the home of the playful inner child. It's the home of the ability to recreate yourself. People who have a hard time smiling or laughing or allowing themselves to experience pleasure, who maybe think that, experiencing pleasure is evil, it's sinful or something like that, or they're workaholics, so they've got to work and don't have time to play, this sort of thing. Also growing up too fast, not experiencing a good childhood, all of those can be things involved with the pancreatic energy. And there are quite a few interesting oils that work here. In my experience, it's the sweeter oils, the ones that have a very kind of sweet fragrance to them. One of the ones that I early had is coconut, which, by the way, is not an essential oil. My first aromatherapy class was actually with a Sufi healer named Hakim Chisti, and he produces a number of fragrances in his company, Attar Bazaar, and they're actually perfume oil blends. And one of them he calls Sudanese coconut, and it's kind of sweet and earthy, and actually is a little. They're blends of things, not just single oils. But the coconut itself has a very sweet fragrance and is very opening to the pancreas. And another one that I found really helpful is honeysuckle. Also, mandarin and sweet orange also seem to have a very strong affinity for this. Possibly pink grapefruit, the anise, the fennel, these kind of very sweet fragrances have a pancreatic opening experience. They open one up to being able to experience the sweetness and joy of life. So the coconut is a sweet, earthy fragrance. It's energetic, it's calming, and it helps awaken the playful side of our nature. It helps people not take themselves too seriously. If you blended another essential oil with coconut as a fixed oil, because it's not an essential oil, it's a fixed oil, then that coconut is going to add to this a kind of playful fragrance. When we were testing the Attar Bazaar Sudanese coconut, we found it opened up the mind. It actually aided the self-esteem in Energy Center 6, and then it opened the playful center. It also helped one root themselves, which was all kind of an interesting mixture of qualities. There are a lot of oils I find that work on the solar plexus energy centers. Now, this is your own inner center. When we talk about being centered, um, being balanced within ourselves, that's what the solar plexus is. It's the center of gravity of the body. It's related energetically to the adrenals, which are the glands of adaptation that help you cope with stress. So when you have a healthy solar plexus energy, you have inner peace, you can cope with stress, you can deal constructively with stress, you feel centered, you feel balanced, you have a sense of inner harmony. When you have a weak solar plexus energy, you feel scattered, you feel out of balance, you feel like you're running around putting out fires, you don't feel peaceful, you feel stressed. And so this is a very, very important energy center for just, dealing with normal life. Now, some of the essential oils that work here are also related to some of the flower essences that work there, like chamomile. I put chamomile here. Chamomile is a very good flower essence for the solar plexus. The essential oil of chamomile, either German or Roman, is really good for balancing the solar plexus. Frankincense, which has been used for meditation, is really helpful here. When we tested helichrysum, which is an oil that is used to help when people feel wounded and whatnot, to rediscover their center, their balance, tested very strong here. Lavender is a pretty good remedy here. Lemon balm is, vetiver, and ylang ylang. All these help you relax and get back to your center. And several of them have been used to facilitate meditation, like sandalwood and frankincense, which would make sense because you're tuning into your own inner sense of balance. Whoops, this slide, okay. I actually meant, this slide actually talked about this in Energy Center 8, but it also works on Energy Center 7. And honeysuckle is not a fragrance you find a lot. It's a perfume oil. It's one of the ones I learned from Atar Bazaar. So it's not like widely available as an essential oil, but you can get a little honeysuckle perfume oil from Atar Bazaar, and it is available from some places. But it's a very sweet, very floral fragrance, and it evokes nostalgia. And this is true of it as a flower essence, because it's one of the flower essences we listed before. It is, when people are living in the past, this is helpful for people who are older and they're stuck in the past. They're longing for, quote unquote, the good old days. They're not finding joy and happiness in their present moment. So what it does is it opens you up and brings you to center and helps you be aware of all that's good in your life right now. Now, 4 and 7 are the center energy centers on the emotional healing model. So anything that works on both 4 and center is 7 is an extremely centering oil. It pulls you into your center. But this one also opens you up with 8 and 10 to be able to receive. All right. So that's a really nice fragrance. Moving up, the Thymus energy center has to do with self-esteem. It's a step up from the liver energy center on that same side of the body, where it's dealing with your ability to protect and defend yourself. But in this case, it has to do with your sense of self-worth. It's feeling good about yourself, and it's also being able to be organized, to organize your life, to structure your life appropriately, to understand appropriate social boundaries. That is, not to violate other people's personal space, to respect your own personal space, and so forth. So the affirmations we've done for this one are, I have forgiven myself for all the mistakes I've made, because self-blame and self-judgment show up here. Not feeling good about yourself. I'm a person of infinite worth. I'm orderly, well organized. I can set appropriate social boundaries with others. I can protect myself when other people violate my boundaries. These are all Thymus energy concepts. And when a person tests weak, these are the kinds of things that happen. Some Thymus energy oils. Eucalyptus, frankincense, myrrh, oregano, pine, all very good antiseptic disinfectant remedies. A lot of other antiseptic disinfectant remedies, which help immunity on a physical level, also work on this energy center. Rosemary, tea tree, thyme, juniper, cinnamon, all of these have pretty good antiseptic qualities. And so these are oils which enhance self-esteem. The two that I have used the most on this energy center are frankincense and myrrh, which help, a person have a good sense of a balanced self-esteem. And then pine, which is used as a flower essence also, helps people let go of undue guilt and shame. So there's a lot of overlap between when a plant works as a flower essence on something, the essential oil also tends to have a very similar property to this. Now, juniper works here. It's a fresh, vaporous, slightly balsamic and woody fragrance. And we found that it was, it's stimulating to invigorating. So it's a warming oil that's also spiritually purifying. And it helps energy centers 0 and 1, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then energy center 6. So it helps the kind of the higher consciousness, but it pulls the higher consciousness down into my own sense of self and my ability to use that. So what it does is it aids spiritual direction while at the same time being able to pull that down into a practical, grounded action on my part. And it helps me let go of worry and unpleasant memories at the same time. Oregano, which is a very camphorous and very strong disinfectant oil. It's also herbaceous with a woody undertone. And again, on the invigorating to stimulating side. And this one was really interesting because actually, I'm sorry, that should have read that should read 269. Anyway, this one runs down the physical pillar or of the tree, the side that enhances your ability to protect and defend yourself and stand up for yourself. It helps your energy, promoting mental fatigue and clarity of thought. It helps to calm an overly emotional side. The left side energy centers are more emotional and feeling. The right side more logical, disconnected. So this one really helps that more masculine side. Now the heart is a really interesting one. The heart is the open side of the emotional world, and of course, it deals with having loving feelings to other people, being able to receive love from other people, having people that I can trust and be open with, feeling like I receive the love I need in my life, feeling like I can cry, which is something that has to do with having an open heart. People who have lost the ability to cry have basically closed their heart energy, and being able to let go of things that I've lost in the past. There's an element of the forgiveness energy that often is involved in the heart as well. And the heart oils tend to be very floral. Although we found in just doing some testing with this, that some of the more spicy oils, which we would associate with on a physical level of stimulating circulation, like black pepper, also actually had a heart opening effect. Wintergreen was an interesting one that helps open the heart, and so forth. But several of the ones that are really helpful here are Gardenia, which is another floral kind of perfume oil. Lily of the Valley, likewise, the mandarin, and rose. Rose as a flower essence and rose as an essential oil is my favorite go-to for when people have close down their heart. The Tarbazar had a fragrance called Arabian Wild Rose. And when he, I'm just going to stop the PowerPoint for a second so I can just show you this. So when I took this class, he said, okay, one of the good places to put an essential oil when you're doing this kind of healing work is right here where you take your pulse on the pulse points. Because what he said is the essential oil absorbs into the bloodstream through that point. He said another good place is like where the carotid artery is on the side of the neck. So he talked about like putting an oil right here, like you put the perfume under your area, you put the little oil right there, you put on the pulse. So I was trying to put a drop of Arabian Wild Rose on here and I spilled it. So the whole bunch of it got on my wrist. And for the next 2 days, every time I brought my hands towards my face, I could smell roses. And for 2 days, I just felt blissfully happy, like being in love. You know, when you feel like you're in love and everything in the world looks like it's just going along wonderfully. That's the way I felt for 2 days, just smelling that Arabian Wild Rose. The Tarbazar had another interesting rose fragrance called Sudanese Black Rose, which, again, these are blends of oils, so I don't know what the actual ingredients are. But that one had this really deep kind of earthy rose fragrance that a lot of people didn't like. But what I found was interesting. If a person had deep-seated repressed grief, they always just loved that blend of the Sudanese Black Rose. So Lily of the Valley is an interesting fragrance. Lily of the Valley as an herb is a cardiac tonic for congestive heart failure. It's like digitalis or foxglove, only it's less toxic. And when we were toying with this one, it opened the crown, the basic life energy, it opened the heart, and it opened the navel, which means it has, again, this kind of balancing effect, centering on the heart. And so not only does it comfort and open the heart, it helps a person release deep-seated pain and grief. It helps them open up to happiness and joy when they've been hardened by life. It actually aids as a fragrance heart disease that is caused by emotional pain, which I think most heart disease involves some kind of emotional pain. It helps open up the ability to recall pleasant memories from the past, especially from childhood. It's a very good fragrance for the elderly. And it helps because it has a youthful, energetic, light fragrance. It's a very, very beautiful scent. And so is Gardenia, again, a floral perfume oil. Most of the ones that were essential oils I covered in the previous one. So I added some of these other additional floral oils into this presentation so I could talk about them a little bit. Gardenia is calming to ethereal, opens the heart, it opens the pancreas, it opens the navel. So it's a very feminine opening scent. Opens up the heart, opens up the pancreas, opens up and makes a person feel like I can receive, which it's an aphrodisiac, but it's an aphrodisiac in that it opens one up to tender, loving, intimate feelings, creating an air of romance and mystery. The throat has to do with two things. One, it's the energy that connects thought and feeling. Two, it's the ability to express oneself. And there's also an element of having a direction, being able to articulate my thoughts and feelings, which is part of being able to clarify where I'm going, what I'm doing. So being able to express yourself, both your thoughts and your feelings, being aware of where you're going, reconciling feelings and logic, all of these things are part of the throat energy. So these are the affirmations that come up with that. A lot of the mint oils have an energetic affinity for the throat. The peppermint, the lemon balm, there's a definite affinity for this family for the throat energy, because They have square stems. In other words, 4 sides, and the number of this energy center is 4. By the way, roses have patterns of petals of 5, and a lot of the rose family plants have affinity for the heart energy center. So there are definitely signatures with plants and herbs that associated with the numbers and energies of these things, which is something that I'm not getting into here, but I just wanted to mention that there's definitely some interesting correlations there. Clary sage, interesting enough, was extremely strong in opening up this energy center. Pine also helping person articulate themselves. Helichrysum is very balancing. It actually went right down the middle of the body, which means it balances everything, but it was very strong at 4 and 7, which means that it helps to balance the entire body as a fragrance. Violet, which is another one of your kind of perfumey oils, a floral, herbaceous, a little bit fresh oil, is very ethereal and refreshing. And it opens primarily the intuitive side of the well, no, actually, no, that's not that. It opens the creative right brain. It also opens the throat, and it opens the self-esteem, and it grounds the person at the same time, which is a very interesting combination of energies to enhance. And what that does is it means it grounds a person, helps them have courage and self-worth, helps them overcome shyness, helps them express themselves better, has a balancing effect, and also helps promote sleep. Fennel, which is a very sweet fragrance with an earthiness to it, is both calming and grounding. So it calms you down and helps you ground yourself, and it worked on primarily on 4, 8, and 10. 4 being, again, throat, 8 pancreas, opening up to things, and 10 being able to receive nurturing. So the essence of this oil seems to be for those who overthink and overanalyze things, who rush to and fro without focused action, and also helps communicate thoughts and feelings and transform them into grounded action. The interesting thing about a lot of the carrot family plants with their umbels, their umbelliferaceae, you have the single point where the little flower stems come off in the umbels, and they're really good oftentimes for people whose energies are very scattered. So anise, I think, is in there. Fennel, what else? Dill. They help you come back to being more centered. Now, this one, even though it didn't work a lot on energy center number 7, I think it ultimately helps that because it helps you pull yourself together. Left brain has to do with feeling I'm intelligent and I can learn whatever I want to learn. Left brain controls the right side of the body. That's why it's red, going with the right side things. It has to do with logic, mathematics, language, words. Problems with the left brain mean I have self-doubts about my ability to do these things, math, language, logic, etc. Fragrances that help open the left brain include lemongrass, peppermint and spearmint, which works a lot on the whole head area, rosemary and thyme, all of which help focused, clear thinking. So oils that enhance this part of the brain create focused, clear thought processes. The black pepper, which did I get this right on the 3-5. Okay, yeah, 3-5. Black pepper is spicy and woody, so it has a grounding effect, and it's also stimulating, and it's very warming, and it promotes self-control and emotional detachment, which is very strange because it stimulates the left brain and it's grounding, but it's also heart opening. So somehow it helps you balance your heart with self-control and a grounded detachment. I'm not sure how to explain that. Lemon balm, very lemony, herbaceous, ethereal, and invigorating. Opens up the right brain, opens up the throat, also helps center yourself. It eases sadness and depression, feeling heavy-hearted. It's particularly helpful for people who are depressed because they're sad and they're grieving and they've lost something. It's simultaneously energizing and calming at the same time, which again is kind of a paradoxical action. Right brain affirmations have to do with wisdom, creativity, the ability to see the big picture, to be open to new ideas, and the artistic side of our nature. So people who have wounds on that side of their brain doubt their creative abilities, they doubt their wisdom, they're blocked from being able to appreciate art and literature and that sort of thing. Again, a lot of the more sweet fragrances are more opening, so they also open the mind as well as open one up to receive love and pleasure. Jasmine, for example, Neroli, orange. Then also, again, peppermint, which just opens the brain in general, and several other fragrances that we tested as being potentially good ones for the right brain. One of these was Neroli, which opens the heart and the right brain. So that means you're open to new ideas, you're open to love. It's a calming sedative with antidepressant effects that calms down the heart, calms down agitation and restlessness, and has a purifying effect that helps you connect with your creativity and the more spiritual side of your mind. Lilac, which is another perfume oil. Attar Bazaar has a lilac perfume. I happen to love the smell of lilac, and when spring comes and I smell lilacs, I just feel so alive. And we found that it helped energy center number 0, which is your basic life energy, helps open up your creative brain. It is centering and also opens one up to pleasure. And it just has a feeling of spring, which is representative of youth. And so it's very uplifting and makes you kind of feel young and lighthearted and so forth. Very nice fragrance. Third eye affirmations. I see life clearly. I see other people clearly. This has to do with your ability, your inner sense of understanding, your ability to perceive and understand. It has to do with your connection to be able to receive spiritual guidance. People who have this center blocked usually have one of two basic problems. Either they don't want to see what's in front of them. They're in denial about things in their life, about things with other people. For example, a couple of times this has come up and the person could see evidence that their spouse was having an affair, but they just didn't want to believe it. They didn't want to acknowledge it. They didn't want to be part of it. The other thing that's a major block here is people maybe have, some spiritual experiences, some spiritual insights, but they're afraid of them. They've been taught by their religion or whatever, that this is evil or whatever. And so even though they have spiritual gifts, they're closed down to being able to accept and utilize those spiritual gifts. My favorite oil by far for this is amber. When I took the aromatherapy class from Attar Bazaar, they have an amber scent. Again, amber is not an essential oil. But it's used like an essential oil. It's a very strong scent. I just got from. I saw that Mountain Rose had an amber blend as well. I haven't tried it yet. Mountain Rose Botanicals, but you take the amber and you actually rub it right here. This is what he told us to do in our aromatherapy class that I took. This class I took, by the way, was in 1989, 1990, somewhere right in there. So this was a long time ago. And you rub this right here, and it's amazing. It's like opening your mind. It just like helps you perceive things more clearly. And another one that is really good for that is myrrh. Myrrh is very mind opening too, helps you clearly see what's going on. And peppermint and spearmint also promotes that mental alertness, and rosemary does as well. Now, some of these others are also helpful for the third eye. They're not necessarily their strongest area, but they can help there too. So amber is a very resinous, earthy thing. What amber is it's basically resin that has hardened and solidified, and it is both grounding and ethereal. So it works on 0, 1, 3. It basically it opens up the life energy. It opens up your perception. It opens up your creative energy, and it also helps you be receptive of the navel energy. So a lot of times when people have tested weak on that, I've actually just put a drop of amber oil on there, and it's really helped open up their perception. Well, wintergreen, this should have actually been in the previous one. I put this in the wrong place. Wintergreen was interesting because it works on 2, 3, 4, 5, which means right brain, left brain, throat, heart, meaning it helps to open up ideas and then clear the mind, and then also take those ideas down into your heart, express them and take them down into your heart, which was a very interesting pattern for an oil. Now, the crown energy center affirmations have to do with basic life energy. A person who tests weak at the crown is not fully alive. They're not fully here. They're not fully present. They're disassociated in some way. They're disconnected in some way. They're not really fully present. So that's why you've got things like I'm present in my body, I'm connected to the divine source, I'm happy to be alive, are examples of this. What was interesting is, and this was very, very kind of surprising to me, one of the oils that we tested that actually worked the best on this center is cinnamon. Frankincense is also really good for basic life energy, as is sandalwood and ylang ylang. And a lot of the ones that work on the 0 or crown energy also work on the root energy, which means they help a person be embodied, alive, and present and grounded all at the same time. Patchouli, vetiver, for example, sandalwood, etc. So when a person is not fully here and not fully grounded, those essential oils are helpful. One of the oils that's helpful here is Angelica, and this one had a very interesting pattern. And Angelica is used as a flower essence for threshold experiences, like when you have a new baby, when you're dying, when you're moving, when you need to connect with kind of a spiritual center to take you through transitions in life. And so it works on the basic life energy, the third eye energy center, and it's also centering at the same time. So it helps you overcome shyness and fear and so forth. Now, I'm going to open this up for questions and so forth, but I wanted to tell you, I talked last time about our aromatherapy charts, and we have pretty much finished them, and they're ready to go. There's just a little teeny bit of proofreading that's being input on them, but we've got them up on the website to order, and so let me go ahead and find this. If you go to, oops, wait a second. If you go to treelight.com, and let me, so I've got the offer up. I'm just going to, while I'm doing this, I'm going to stop the slide presentation. And so basically we have 2 charts. This is the aromatherapy chart, Okay, so it has the 12 energy centers and the essential oils for 12 energy centers. It has the aromatherapy wheel, which I made a couple of modifications to after the last presentation I did. I actually switched a couple of centers, so I'm going to have to maybe redo the last thing because there were some things that made a little more sense. So I might do a little special webinar on this. It's got 46 fragrances and essential oils on the back. Tells what energy centers they work on. The other chart is this one. So we're creating this tool to help people with the emotional energy center. This one's got the question affirmations. So basically you find out what energy center is weak. You have them read the affirmations for that energy center. You always start at the lowest number. The bottom, you work from the bottom up, and then you do clearing. Also on the back is flower essences that work for the 12 emotional energy centers. So we're selling the charts for $15 each, or you can buy both as a set for $25, and you can save 10% if you pre-order, before we ship them out, which means you can get both for $22.50 plus shipping. So that I'm really, really pleased with this. This is just so. This has been a fun project, and I'm really looking forward to teaching people more about energetics. I don't have any discount for Atar Bazaar. I didn't contact them about that. I probably should. Someone says, what if you can't stand a fragrance? Okay, there's several reasons why you might find an essential oil to be something that you can't tolerate. One, because there's some memory in the past that you smelled that fragrance when something bad was happening in your life. So if I had an ex-wife who could not stand the smell of roses. She hated roses. You didn't want to bring her roses. Because when her dad died when she was 5 years old, there were bunches of roses at the funeral, and it brought up grief for her. So even though rose opens your heart, she didn't want to deal with the grief of her dad dying. She never was able to do that. And so the smell of rose brought her in touch with that, and she couldn't stand it. If you remember, by the way, when you go to the website, you have to log in when you check out as a member. It doesn't automatically. No, you have to log in to get the discount. Anyway, the other reason is as a fragrance that throws you farther out of balance. So, for example, if you happen to be very open in certain energies and closed in other energies, and you take one that opens up the energies that you're already very open in, it's going to throw you further out of balance, and it's going to make you feel bad. So one of the beautiful things about aromatherapy is the stuff that actually makes you feel good is the stuff that's actually good for you. So I will send out a link to the I was going to get a email out today, but it's just been really, really busy with a lot of things. So I'm going to try to get it out tomorrow to everyone registered for this thing, and give them a link to Atar Bazaar for some of the perfume oils. Like they come in little teeny. I meant to grab my oils. They're only in little teeny vials like this. They're very small amounts, but you just need a drop. And like I said, I've used a number of those for emotional healing. So I primarily have the essential oils from Nature's Sunshine because they have good quality. I have a couple from doTERRA, have a few from Rocky Mountain Oils. And then I have these little oils from Atar Bazaar, which are some of the fragrances like Lily of the Valley and Lilac, and these perfumey oils, which are really nice and emotional healing. So that's why you might not like a fragrance. The Fennel, I mentioned all the ones I was talking about tonight, and the qualities I was talking about tonight were essential oils. The flower essences often have a very similar energy. If you've got a flower essence of that plant, it will do a similar thing to the essential oil. Someone was saying that when they smelled Gardenia, they almost became instantly nauseous. Well, that's again indication of this. Like I said, I became aware of this phenomenon in aromatherapy, how oils that balance out your energies make your energies more balanced, open up the energy centers that are closed, rather than stimulating the ones that are already open, made a person feel better, because when your energies are balanced, you feel better. And so like I said, the way I learned that was with the Sudanese black rose. People who didn't have any closed down emotional pain in their heart hated it. People who were very open-hearted and loving and whatever already hated the smell of that fragrance. But people who were hurt and wounded and holding on to secret pain in their hearts absolutely loved it. And that's what I've generally found to be true. And that's one of the beautiful things about essential oils. If you're not sure if the essential oil is going to work, have the person smell it. If it's really helping to balance out their energies, they will immediately like, wow, what is that? I like that, so forth. Could someone confuse being out of balance and think they're allergic to something? Possibly. I haven't observed that people are allergic to pure essential oils. I had people, when I was first doing this with the Attar Bazaar, which are all pure essential oils, they would say, oh, I'm allergic to fragrances. And then we'd start smelling them and they wouldn't get any allergic reaction. It's synthetic fragrances that really cause the allergic reactions. I haven't observed that essential oils, smelling them anyway, causes allergic reactions. However, like I said, the Sudanese black rose is from Attar Bazaar. And I'll spell it. I think I know how to spell it. Sudanese. And so that's basically, what's happening is a person just won't like certain fragrances because they throw them farther out of balance. Now, the charts I just showed you, the name of the book I mentioned in previous webinars on essential oils. Just one second. I have that book right here, if you don't mind me just moving away for a second. This is one of the better books on aromatherapy I found. The Complete Guide to Aromatherapy by Salvatore Battaglia, a certified aromatherapist in Salt Lake who sells organic essential oils. Acquainted me with this book, and she had some copies for sale, and I bought it. It's a very thorough treatment of essential oils. Covers a lot of essential oils, covers them very thoroughly, and so forth. Someone put up the thing, Sudanese black rose perfume oil, Amazon.com. It's from Attar Bazaar. And that I think is an excellent guide to aromatherapy. And I really like the way that I recommend using these, again, is either you smell them out of the bottle, okay, or you can diffuse them in the air or dilute them with a little fixed oil, and they have little roll-on bottles you can do this with. You can mix some fixed oil in it, put some of the essential oils in it, then roll it on, and I highly recommend rolling it on here on the pulse points or here when you're doing emotional healing. That is a really good way to use them. And while you're working with someone, if you take out an oil and find an appropriate oil for them and you put it here or you put here, or in the case of if you're working on the third eye, you can put it here. So that while you're going through the emotional healing session, they're smelling that oil. Then what happens is, as they clear, it helps them clear the issue in the first place. But while they're clearing the issue, and they're smelling that oil and they go through the process of clearing the issue, it creates a memory connection in their brain with the healing process. So if they then take a little bit of the oil, all right, and they go and like use it for the next week, then every time they smell it, their brain is reliving the healing process of getting over this issue, which reinforces the healing process and cements it more firmly in the brain. That's what I think is really useful about aromatherapy and emotional healing. It really helps with that. I also just want to say one more thing before we close. My wife has been working on a little project, and we just finally got her Etsy store set up. And you can click on the link here to visit it, but she's been making these little coffee trees. These are, you can see them, they're made with coffee beans. And sometimes she puts cinnamon or anise or other little things on them. Well, if you know anything about aromatherapy, coffee helps clear your nose. So like if you're teaching an aromatherapy class and you're having people actually smell essential oils, after they've smelled 2 or 3, it all starts to just blur together. So if you have coffee beans, it helps to clear the palate. So these are kind of fun. And she's just set up a little Etsy store to sell these. So if you are interested, you can go check these out. If you've got a little business and want this, that's just personal plug for my wife, because she's been having fun making these and I think they're kind of cute. I got one for our office. You can go check that out. I don't know. The Mountain Rose, I haven't checked out their oils. I just saw that they had it. So I just was like, okay, that's interesting. I got to go buy those sometimes and see, where they work, because like I said, the fact that they had something with amber in it was interesting to me because you don't often see the amber, and amber to me has been really useful because there's several flower essences that are generally useful for emotional healing. One is golden eardrops, which helps you access painful memories from childhood and work through them. Another one is black-eyed Susan, which helps you see into your own shadow. And amber, which opens up your consciousness to what's going on. And so when a person's blocked and they can't access what's bothering them, when they're really blocked from being able to look at it, I've used some of those flower essences or amber to open them up to get that. As for the charts getting, we do have our typical volume discounts. You can call our office 800-416-2887. I don't know if I can bring the charts to convention. I'm going to ask, but I don't. When I'm at the Nature Sunshine Convention, I'm not sure whether I can sell anything there or not. I'm going to ask because I'm teaching the class before convention with Jay, and I'm going to see if I can have these charts available for sale, but I don't know if I can or not. But meanwhile, if you'd like to order quantities of them, so forth. Oh, someone says, they use coffee beans in the bath and body stores to clear the nose between smelling different things. Yes, that's exactly what they're about, and that's why I mentioned using the coffee beans and the coffee trees. So if you're interested, just check it out. There's some interesting ones. She still hasn't even got all the ones that she's made up on the website yet. So I've been helping her with that today. Which smell helps one cry? Growing up, crying is, if a person can't cry, I look at any of the heart-opening fragrances, starting with rose, and then things like the lily of the valley and all those kinds of fragrances that are very opening to the heart. They help a person open up to the grieving process. When a person is unable to cry and grieve, it's because they've closed down their heart, and that helps them reopen their heart. The black-eyed Susan is one of the flower essences, and so on this chart, a lot of the third eye flower essences, the ones that are for energy center number 1, like golden eardrops, black-eyed Susan, monk's hood, etc., help open up a person's ability to perceive what's going on inside themselves when they're blocked. So the FES Flowers sells the black-eyed Susan and the golden eardrops flower essences. They're very helpful for that basic getting a person to look at things that they're having a hard time looking at inside of themselves. Well, we've run to the end of our time here. When we the last 2 sessions, there's going to be another week break. Double check that on my calendar, but I think I don't have. Next week is Labor Day, so we're not going to have a class on Labor Day. So we'll start again on the 10th, and the last 2 classes we're going to talk about some additional tools. I'm going to talk about breathing exercises that help open up different emotions. I'm going to talk about movement that helps open up different centers, and some other tools that you can use with emotional healing work. So all of these tools you can use, when they're needed, and learn how to use them. And we're going to be going in more depth over the 12 emotional energy centers, what they all mean, and actually talk about, again, go over flower essence, essential oils, the question affirmations, and all of that for each energy center in the final module of this class. You can call the office if you want to volume order the charts. Our number is 800-416-2887. I don't have a lot of an inventory of the Attar Bazaar essential oils to sell. You can get a wholesale account, I think, and sell them, but I don't have any to sell. I used to carry them, but I haven't, because I just don't have that much walk-in traffic. So mostly I just am using them when I'm doing a session with someone. So anyway, that's everything for tonight. Like I said, we'll skip the class until next for 2 weeks. I will send a link out. I am going to create a page on my website where I'm going to put all the handouts for this class for anybody who's been having trouble getting onto the online learning center to pull down handouts. I'm going to put them on a page and send out a link to that, so you'll be able to download the handouts, go over any of this that you want to go over. And of course, like I said, all of these things are also on the charts that we just released. So we're trying to make good tools. Oh, I also wanted to just mention that in about a month, we'll be starting our fundamentals natural healing module 4 class. And that one, which is $75, is going to be about the physical side of mental and emotional healing. I'm going to talk about stress management. I'm going to talk about, working with depression. I'm going to talk about anxiety and all of these things, and how to physically address these things. So if you're interested in that side of this work, it's only $75 for the 8 lessons. Then you can register for that, and it will talk about, the herbs and nutrients and that kind of thing that you can use to help people get off of, drugs, and help balance out their biochemistry to help them feel better emotionally as well. So thanks, everybody, and I'll catch you again in 2 weeks.